type of directive exists, but it is dominated by question, and the last is permissive. This is the examples of the directive utterances, but before I go to these examples, I will go to the discussion first. Number one, powerful character have tendency to dominate powerless character by producing more directive, and mostly powerful character uses type of directive which require authority. The examples are conversation between the teacher and the student. The teacher utters 9 directive utterances while the student produces only 6. And then the conversation between master and her servant, the master produces no requestive while the servant produces 15 requestive. And also the conversation between parent and children, for example, in the requirement, in the first one, you give it to him, you drop everything at his feet, apologize and walk away. This utterance is spoken by Amal's father, who is more powerful than Amal herself. And then second, powerless character can dominate the powerful character, of course, in certain circumstances. And there are only 5 cases where this possibility occurs. For example, in prohibitive, the first example, don't look at me like that, is spoken by Sima. Sima is Amal's younger sister, but although Sima is younger than Amal, she actually can use prohibitive because the topic and the situation at the moment of speaking emphasize that Sima wants Amal to believe at her that she can help Amal to prepare for the examination at school. So it doesn't matter that the character is powerless. Sometimes these cases can happen. And the last brief conclusion, the first, directive utterance produced by character are clearly affected by non-linguistic phenomena like ages, status, education, also formality skills, relationship, and so on. Second, linguistic choices depend on the character's background, but other non-linguistic factors are more important consideration. Like the first example of this requestive, you won't mind if I take this for her, will you? This is spoken by Jawad Sahib. Jawad Sahib is part of Khan's family member. He is the controller, he is the ruler of the village. So he has power, but instead of using requirement, prohibitive, or using permissive, he chose to use requestive to Amal, who is powerless than him, because at the moment of speaking, they have never met before. So Jawad considered to be more polite, and he doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to have first bad impression on Amal. That is why the conclusion number 2 sometimes is related to politeness or social norm. And the last, understanding language phenomena will make us to be more aware with the proper uses of language. Of course, especially directive in this case, because directive is related to power, so that we have to be more aware, and we should pay attention to such directive in our social practice. Thank you. I think that's all for me. I'm so sorry if I have done mistakes. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, but your microphone is muted.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you very much. We still have 6 minutes left. Oh, sorry, 5 minutes left. Very, very interesting presentation from Amarilis Duta Pertiwi. Okay, if there are some questions coming from the participants, you can give the questions to Mbak Amarilis. Okay. Any questions?
May I have question by Ray?
Oh yeah, Pak Malmian, the expert, please.
Okay, Amarilis, I'd like to have one question related to the speech act. You use requestive in, okay, would you show me again the 5 or 6?
From harness, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, wait, sir. Mm,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Requestive, questions, requirements, and questions, advisory, prohibitive, and permissive. Well, some people think that, yeah, what's the difference between prohibitive and requestive? Let's say the main character, the main feature. Yeah.
the difference between requestive and prohibitive, sir?
Yeah.
So in requestive, the speaker wants the hearer to do an action, while in prohibitive, the speaker does not allow the hearer from doing a certain action.
Is there any linguistic signal or feature?
Excuse me, sir, I cannot understand your.
Is there any, let's say, like, what is it? Signal or feature that differentiate requestive and prohibitive?
As far as I know, they do not elaborate too much about this type of directive, sir.
Okay, what about using negation, you see? In prohibitive, usually they use negation like no, don't, something like that.
Oh, yes. Mostly in prohibitive, they use negative sentence.
Yeah, that's it. And then what's the difference between requirements and requestive?
The difference is in the degree of force. If in requirement, the degree of force is stronger so that the hearer does not have any other choices and must do the action, while in requestive, the hearer do not have to do the action. He can either do it or not.
Let's say maybe in some other terms, requirements, is it the same as order?
What do you mean the order, sir?
Order, giving order.
Oh, giving order. Giving order include in requirement because the speaker really wants the hearer to do it.
Yeah, that's it. Because so can you once again differentiate requirements and requests in the terms of advantage? Do you know?
In the
Advantage. Who has the advantage of being performed by the speech act?
Of course, I think requirement will give more advantage to the speaker, of course.
And then requestive?
Well, I think requestive can also be benefit, but because the hearer does not have to do the action that is being asked, so I think requestive is below the requirement.
Yeah, usually requestive, I mean the person who asks to request something has lower power.
Yes.
Yeah, then because in order, usually the one who give order should have higher power.
Yes, it's
so
right.
that's the difference in terms of, and usually for the order, that's for the advantage of the speaker, sorry, maybe for the listener as well.
Oh yes, the listener.
And then requestive mostly for the speaker. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Amarilis, we have already completed 15 minutes for your presentations. And then now we are going to continue with the other presenter. The second presenter is Roisa. Yeah, is going to present the article entitled The Role of TB Association in Detecting Tuberculosis Suspect in Probolinggo Regency is Java. Roisa, the time is yours. Hello, Roisa. Okay, Roisa hasn't come yet. Okay, now we can continue with the third presenter, Mbak Lina Rosliana. Yeah, Lina Rosliana from Japan's departments. Okay, she's going to present the paper entitled Translation Criticism of Ecological Terms in Environmentally Oriented Literary Work, Paraumi Sugako by Miyazawa Kenji. Is it right?
Yes.
Okay, Mbak Roslina, time is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Heri. I will first share my screen. Is the slide okay?
Yeah, you can see your slide now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to meet you here. Before I begin my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Lina Rosliana. I'm teaching Japanese language and culture at Universitas Diponegoro. And with my college, I do some research on Japanese language, culture, and literature. In this opportunity, I would like to present our research entitled Translation Criticism, Translation Criticism of Ecological Terms in Environmentally Oriented Literary Work Baraumi Shogakko by Miyazawa Kenji. There are 4 points in my presentation. The first one is introduction, which covers the definition of translation and translation criticism, which followed by the method. The next one is results and discussions, which covers translation procedures and translation equivalence. And the last one is conclusions. I would like to start with translation definition. There are many definitions of translations according to linguists, such as Peter Newmark, Snyder and Tabor, Catford, or Venuti, which we can understand that translation is transforming a text written in one language, or we call it source language, or SL, into an equivalent text in a different language, we call it target language, or TL, retaining the meaning and functional roles of the original text. And translation criticism, we can understand that translation criticism is an essential link between translation theory and its practice. And when conducting translation criticism, 2 things need to be considered from the translation results. They are referential and linguistic mistakes. Referential mistakes are about facts, the real world, propositions, not words. Statements like water is air, water is black, water breathes are referential mistakes. Though as metaphors, they may be profoundly true. Referential mistakes exist in fictions, such as imaginative literature, only when it incorrectly depicts the real world now or in history. Meanwhile, linguistic mistakes show the translator's ignorance of the foreign language. They may be grammatical or lexical, including words, collocations, or idioms. This research is a qualitative descriptive study. We try to describe in depth the translation procedures and the equivalence in translating Miyazawa Kenji's short story Baraumi Shogakko into Indonesian. This research model is a translation criticism that raises specific matters, focusing on equivalence and translation procedures by describing data representing phenomena in depth. For results and discussion, we found that there are several translation procedures, including transference, cultural matching, descriptive translation, naturalization, meaning component analysis, combinations, international standard translation, and paraphrase. And for translation equivalence, according to Naida and Tabor, things that are difficult to find equivalence in translation relate to ecology terms such as flora, fauna terms, winds, plains, and hills. And material culture such as food, clothes, houses, and towns, transport. The third is social culture, which covers work and leisure. And the last is organizations, customs, activities, procedures, and concepts, such as political and administrative terms or religious terms. The short story of Baromi Shogako is Miyagawa Kenji's work, written when he was a teacher at the Aso Agricultural School. Many of his works had the theme of the relationship between humans, flora, fauna, and environment. Baraumi Shogako contains at least 30 kinds of ecological terms such as mountains, beaches, volcanoes, plains, weeds, clams, springs, shoots, clouds, sun, wind, foxes, wolves, chickens, and birds. And some of the words among these ecological terms have specific names in Japanese, such as Hamanasu Plain, Katabira Suzumi Place, Awa, Barakubo Sai Place. And these words require special attention in their translation. As research and discussion, we found that there are 4 procedures that is used in short story Baraumi Shogako translation. The first is transference. With transference procedures, the translator transfers source language words become a loan words in target language. For example, Baraumi no Hara in Japanese is translated into Padang Baraumi. Baraumi means very large fields that is close to the sea, and Baraumi become a loan word in Indonesian. The second procedure is analysis of the meaning components. With this procedure, translator use closest word in target language. In this case, there is a word called Siroi Urogo Kumo. Urogo is a very big and white cloud, and the translators transfer this word into awan putih in Indonesian. The third procedure is paraphrase. With this procedure, translator transfers words or sentences into another forms that can be easier to understand in target language. In this case, the example is Daigaku no Rinka. Daigaku no Rinka means a high school that has forestry department. The translator transfers these sentences or clause into Indonesian Universitas Perhutanan. That can be easier to understand in Indonesian reader. And the last procedure is literal translation. It is used for words that are often used in everyday life, such as sun, winds, and sky. For conclusion, most of the translations of the term ecology in Baraumi Shogako short stories have dynamic equivalence. The translation of form and meaning prioritizes closeness to the target text reader. However, for ecological terms related to plain names and place names, the translator uses a formal equivalence because it is difficult to find the equivalence of the term in Indonesian. I think that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Lina Rosliana, for a very, very interesting presentations. And then I know that some of you have some questions because this is very, very interesting topic, especially when we are talking about the translation from Japanese to Indonesian language. And then I know that some of you, yeah, Amalimin, Mas Pram, and then also Amarilis, familiar with this kind of theoretical translations. And then we still have 8 minutes for questioning and answering session. Is there any questions?
May I, Pak Heri?
Yeah, Ibu Mita. Good. Okay. You make a
Thank
question.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Pak
okay.
Heri. Bu Lina or Mbak Lina, is there any particular difference between translation procedures or translation technique?
Okay. Yes. Thank you for the question, Mbak Mita. The difference from translation procedures in Japanese with the English translation, or each procedures, the difference in each procedures. Sorry, I have to confirm the question.
No, I'm asking about the term technique and procedure, because I also heard the term translation technique as well, which includes literal translation, paraphrasing, etc., etc. But Bu Lina uses the term procedure instead of technique. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether translation technique differs from translation procedures.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yes. According to many linguists, there is a word that we call it technique, but Japanese linguist Yoko Hasegawa uses procedures to refer the technique. So I use the term procedures according to Hasegawa theory in this research. But I think the technique with the procedures here refer to the same things and refer the same theory.
Right. Thank you, Bu Lina. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pak Heri.
Thank you very much, Ibu Mita. And then we still have more about 4 minutes, yeah, for other questions. Pak Malimin, do you have any questions about the translation strategies or technique or procedures?
Okay, Pak Heri, I have questions for the, well, based on Bu Lina's experience, when you do translation, have you got some constraint? Have you got some, difficulties? Because that is different culture, let's say from Japanese to Indonesian. Usually when we talk about culture, it's not always have equivalence. Let's say in English, let's say like selamat pagi and good morning is not all in this, is, well, not the same, not exactly the same, because selamat pagi here, we let's say in our mind, let's say pagi should be below, let's say 11 is to yeah, it's not really appropriate for selamat pagi. But in English, good morning and before noon, that's fine. Okay, based on your experience, have you got any difficulties when you translate? Yeah, in terms of cultural terms, maybe. Thank you. Very.
Thank you for the question, Pak Mualimin. Yes, of course, we many times find the difficulties to translate Japanese culture terms into Indonesian culture terms, like kimono, yukata, or a traditional house in Japan, which there is no equivalence words in Indonesian. So what we do is usually give a footnote for those words that has no closest word, or there is no equivalent word in Indonesian. So we usually give a footnote for the explanation.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Thank you
Yes.
very much for the question, Pak Malimin. Actually, when we are talking about the culture, as we discuss about the translation, this one is very, very difficult, difficult point that we have to solve all the problem, especially when we are going to translate, yeah, from social language to tertiary language. Yes, very, very different, very, very difficult to do. But we still have time for discussing, but out of the session, I think. And then Mbak Alimin and Mbak Lina can continue the discussion out of this the room. Yeah, you may, and then you can complete the discussion for about one semester maybe. Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Alina Rosliana, for interesting topics. And then I would like to continue with the next presenter. It seems to me that Pak Alam Shah, the very, very important person in Faculty of Humanities, is ready for presenting his paper entitled "Sea as Life Support for Bugis People in Colonial Period." Okay, Pak Alam Shah, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Pak Oktiva Harichandra, as the moderator in this virtual meeting. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your attending in this discussion. In this time, Mr. Mualimin and I will present our article. Even though I am the first author, however, Mr. Mualimin who will present our article. And then thank you, Mr. Mualimin. Please present screen and time for you.
Well, thank you so much, Pak Alam Shah, for giving me time on behalf of the team. Good afternoon, everyone. There are three authors here, Pak Alam Shah as the first one, and then Pak Agustinus Supriyono and me as the second and the third. Once again, today we are going to talk about sea as life support for Bugis people or Buginese in colonial period. That's the title for this evening, this afternoon presentation. Okay, next. Okay, you know that the Buginese or Bugis people are known as sailors who are recognized for their toughness in the archipelago. When Portuguese annexed Malacca and Molucco, which was followed by VOC and the Dutch, it's in this they disturbed the tribes whose life depending on the sea, including the Buginese. The form of resistance was carried out by pirating Dutch merchant ships. For the Bugis people, sea is something very valuable because they depend on life and maritime culture. The Buginese, in all aspects of their life, make the most of all things related to the sea. Next. And then the Bugis people regard the sea as life support for depending on the sea. The Buginese had several occupations related to the sea during the colonial period. Bugis people use the sea to meet their daily needs. They look for fish as sailors, and they also as traders, but also they do carried out piracy to obtain goods or people, at that time slave, who were then sold and bartered. Yeah, next. And to do the research, the method that we're going to use, that we use is historical method consisting of heuristic, criticism, interpretation, of course, historiography. The primary sources are obtained from the Jakarta National Archive in the form of government reports during the colonial period, or photograph of Buginese ships used for fishing. And secondary sources are obtained from relevant works in the form of books, journals, and other literature. Secondary sources are obtained from libraries, private collection, and also online sources. The available sources are then criticized and interpreted. The result of the above analysis are reconstructed into an article about the sea as life support for Buginese in the colonial period. That's the method. Next, and then the discussion. Well, as you know, that I mentioned that Buginese has three kinds of works, let's say, and then the first one, Buginese people as fishermen. Buginese fishermen have the idea of the sea that fish are abundant and will not run out as long as the leaves of the trees on the land are not used up. No particular person on the sea with all in it. Buginese fishermen do not fish for small fish by the sea, but go out to the sea to catch big fish so that their business can thrive. Buginese fishermen also have an idea about the wide sea, but not all parts of the sea are accessible. Buginese fishermen rely on the senses of fakita means sight, parangkalinga means hearing, paramau means smell, premonition, and tentuang belief to kick up on sign or signal of danger at sea. So they have local wisdom in terms of danger and this on the sea. Buginese fishermen have knowledge of season and dangers in the sea based on their knowledge and astronomy according to the layout of the stars. Here is the picture and photograph of Patarone fishing boat used by Sulawesi people or Buginese. Yeah, next. Buginese fishermen generally come from the coastal villages of South Sulawesi and surrounding island, stretching from Lowo, Wajo, Bone, Sinjai, Bulukumba in the east, facing Bone Bay, and Pantang, Janetompo, Takalar, Goa, Kota Makassar, Maros, Pangkep, Pangkajene Island, Baru, Parepare, and Pinrang in the western part of the island, opposite the Makassar Strait. The Buginese were widely known as fishermen or fish hunters in Malacca Strait during the Sriwijaya era. They operated in various fishing grounds in the eastern and southern region of the archipelago to the north and west coast of Australia. So Dutch records mention that Buginese look for fish in the sea using small boats. Most of the biggest people look for fish around their homes, especially those using small boats. Yeah, next, fishermen in Buginese knew about 40 types of sea cucumbers during the colonial period. The sea cucumbers that have been known include the Koro type of sea cucumber, pilaf, tai kongkong, patu, kasi, pineapple, and few fishermen also know various types of shells such as pearls, tola, matchstone, seven eyes, and clams. They know several types of fish that have high economic value, such as reef fish, especially the species of sunu, which is the same as red snapper, grouper, fakokang or fanko means Napoleon, sharks and for their fins, and also shrimp. Fishermen also familiar with several pelagic fish such as kites, skipjack or tuna, and banjara or sarisi, means sardines, which are marine commodities that sell well in local and regional markets. Next. And then as sailors and also traders, the Western nation, as you know, that exercised strict control and implemented various rules that restricted, prohibited shipping and trading activities in the controlled archipelago. Under such condition, the Buginese continued to trade during colonial period, despite facing threat from the West. Most of the biggest people act as intermediary traders. Buginese traders have functioned as distribution traders who sell and distribute public consumption goods as collectibles in charge of collecting agricultural products and then selling them to consumers. Their preserve in maritime trade during colonial period did not only earn income. Beginning traders also had to adhere to some basic rules. First, they must prioritize honesty because honesty can lead to trust. Second, they have to do social or human relation because it will make it easier to develop a business. And then third, they use science because it will improve management. In trading, the beginners were always on guard against the kings, the strongmen, the rich, and with their acquaintances. However, they have believed that sustenance must be sought. In the 16th century, beginners traders played an important role in maritime trade in the archipelago after the fall of Malacca to the Portuguese, especially between Portuguese, Dutch, and Malay kings. In 17th century, beginners traders were already trading in Papua. They became distributors of ceramics, iron tools, and clothes for Papuan people. Beginner traders in trading and shipping to Papua used the road along the Makassar Strait to the north, then sail eastward into North Sulawesi and continue to Ternate until they reached Papua until the 19th century. In 19th century, beginner traders sold their goods in Tidore, Bacan, Seram, and hinterland of Halmahera. They brought opium, ammunition, and weapons at cheap prices from Singapore. Beginner traders had also traded in Afdeling, Jailolo, and Sahui, an area located in western Halmahera.
Sorry for interrupting, Pak Malimin. You
Yes.
still have 5 minutes left.
Okay, yeah. Go on with the next. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, go on with the next ones again. The next slide. Yeah, here is the Padawakang, which is also important way of trading. Yeah, next. Okay, yeah, beginner traders did not only come to trade, but also to settle in Ternate, an active indigenous trade diaspora. The beginners merchant community formed a trading network by placing persons in the villages where seafood communities originated. This community came under pressure after the Dutch Indies government came to power in Ternate to continue the trade in Nusantara waters. Next. Next, please. Yeah, Bugis people as pirates. You see, other than being sailors and also traders, Bugis is also known as pirate as well. Buginese often accused of being pirates and associated with pirate activities during the colonial period. Most of the Buginese traders did sell slaves to various regions in the archipelago. In 17th to 19th centuries, Buginese traders were actively involved in slave trade in the archipelago and piracy activities. The existence of the Buginese as pirates was triggered by the presence of Western nation in the archipelago, which was seen as disturbing the economic, social, and political stability of the Bugis people. Next. Conclusion, maybe, yeah. Yeah, because of time. Sorry, there is a very close relationship between the Buginese and the sea, and even the sea, which support life, has an important role for the Buginese. With the maritime environment, the Bugis people depend on their livelihood as fishermen, traders, and also as pirates. The one pirated were Dutch merchant ships and also indigenous one. From the above description, it shows that the majority of Bugis people live supported by the sea for activities as fishermen, traders, and pirates. That's all by Harry. We hope that we have still time. Yeah, we are in, we invite some question, maybe, and then Pak Alam will also give some answers, if any. Hello, Pak Heri.
Excuse me, but I believe that Pak Heri is not in this room. I think there is technical difficulties.
I see.
But
Yeah,
if
thank you, Frank.
if I may if I may use this opportunity to ask question,
Yes,
I?
please. Yes, of course.
Actually, I would like to directly ask question to Pak Alam. I read your article for ICENIS 2020 last year, which is discussing about pirate in Bajo. And I would like to ask that if is there any relation between Bugis as a pirate and in Bajo, and is that right? Is that right that there is a stereotype stating that the pirates there hates Japanese people, especially their sailors and their fishermen? Where I have discussed this matter with Anto from the history department batch of 2018. I would like to hear some of elaboration from Pak Alamsyah. Thank you very much in advance.
Yeah, Palam.
Please, Mr. Malimin, to answer the many questions from majority.
Well, frankly speaking, I'm not really expert on history, but anyway, I think, well, in general, like Japanese may be considered more prosperous than out of Japanese. And I don't know for sure, but maybe the traders there, I mean, who ship the shipping are Japanese. So so they pirate not only Japanese actually, because mostly they pirate Western, which is because you see that Western as enemies, you see, that's in this government. So even though, let's say, Bugis, most people, maybe most Buginese are Muslim, they think that piracy is not illegal. It's not legal, but I think because they think that the colonial, I mean, they have the right to get back their belongings, yeah, because of the what is it, colonialism. I think that's why, but I'm not really sure whether they are really hate the Japanese in that sense. I think they pirated all ships, yeah, mostly the colonial government's ship, maybe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Malimin. I'm so sorry for not continuing the discussion because we are very limited in the times. Okay, and then we would like to continue with the other presenter, Devi Kusmiati. She is going to present the paper entitled Translation Technique in Environmentally Oriented Short Story Hinoki to Hinageshi. Pohon Hinoki dan bunga Hinageshi by Miyazawa Kenji into Indonesians. Okay. Times and the screen is yours, Mbak Dewi.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'm going to share my PPT. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Dewi Kusmiati. I'm from Japanese and Culture Department of Diponegoro University. Today, I will present findings on the following topic: translation technique in environmentally oriented short story Hinoki to Hinageshi, or Pohon Hinoki dan Bunga Hinageshi by Miyazawa Kenji into Indonesian, which are written by me and three of my lecturers, Mrs. Lina Rosliana, Mrs. Elizabeth, and Mr. Zaki Ainul Fadli. So these are the contents I would like to talk about in this presentation. I will start from the introduction to this study, and then we will go to translation and translation technique. And then I'm going to show you form of translation techniques used in Hinoki to Hinageshi, and the last one is conclusion. The first one is introduction. Background of this study. Indonesian speakers not only enjoy Indonesian literary works, but also literary works from abroad. One of the most popular is Japanese literature. However, for general readers to be able to enjoy Japanese literary works, translation products are needed. The translation products is a result of translation activities. The short story Hinoki to Hinageshi is translated as Pohon Hinoki dan Bunga Hinageshi in Indonesian. In this short story, there are several words that have a direct equivalent in Indonesian and words that do not have a direct equivalent in Indonesian. This short story also contains several words that can cause obstacles in the translation process, such as ecological words. For example, the Hinoki and Hinageshi, which I'm going to explain further in this presentation. This research aim and method is to find out what translation techniques the translator used to solve the obstacles in translating Miyazawa Kenji's Hinoki to Hinageshi short stories. And the method I use are data were collected using the literature review or documentation method, followed by note-taking techniques. And the data analysis method used is distributional method. And the results of the data analysis is presented using an informal presentation method. Now we are going to talk about translation and translation technique. According to Hood in 2006, translation is an effort to express message contained in the text of a language or source text into another language or target text. Translating consists in reproducing in the receptor language the closest natural equivalent of the source language message, first in terms of meaning and secondly in terms of style. Newmark in 1988 explained that there are several levels in the translation process. Number one is the textual level. The textual level is when we intuitively and automatically convert the lexical units of the source language into the target language. Number two is the referential level, is whether we can visualize or imagine a word or sentence when we read it. The number three is the cohesive level. Is an attempt to build feelings and emotions through value-laden or value-free expressions, which can determine the difference between a good translation and a boring or misleading translation. And the last is the level of naturalness, which depends on the relationship between the writer and the reader and the topic or situation. Obstacles in the translation process. According to NIDA, 5 cultural factors that cause obstacles when the translation process takes place are 1. Ecology, for example, different vocabulary regarding climatic conditions, flora, fauna, etc. Second one is material culture, which is related to objects used in everyday life, and religious culture, namely the beliefs or beliefs held in a country. 4 is social factors, which involve all aspects of social structure, and last one is language factors used in society in that country. Translation technique. Translation technique are ways of overcoming difficulties in translating at the level of words, sentences, or paragraphs. Hood divides these techniques into 9 types. The first one is transposition. The translator changes the sentence structure to get the correct translation. 2 is modulation. The translation provides an equivalent that is semantically different from the point of view of its meaning or scope of meaning, but in the context concerned gives the same message. 3 is descriptive translation. The translator provides a description of the word whose equivalent is difficult to find or doesn't have an equivalent in target language. 4 is contextual conditioning. The translator provides additional explanations for certain words, usually those considered foreign by target language readers, so that they are easier to understand. 5 is footnotes. The translator provides long notes in the form of footnotes to clarify the meaning of the translated words. 6 is phonological translation. The translator couldn't find a suitable equivalent in TL, so a new word was made, which was taken from the sound of the word in source language to suit the sound system, phonology, and spelling or graphology. 7 is official or standard translation. This technique is carried out when there are terms, names, or expressions that are already exist in a target language. 8 is not given an equivalent. The translator couldn't find the equivalent in target language, so for the time being, just quoted the word from source language. And
Sorry, Mbak Dewi, for interrupting. You still have 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. And the last one is cultural equivalent. The translator provides the equivalent in the form of cultural elements that are in target language. So now I'm going to show you the form of translation techniques used in Hinoki to Hinagishi. The first one is transposition. So the underlined word, for example, the ikimo tsukenai is a passive sentence, and kaze ni gura-gura yorete is an active sentence, becomes a passive sentence in Indonesian. Kaze means angin, and gura-gura yorete means berayun-ayun or berayun, and Indonesian becomes berayun-ayun di tiup angin. Second one is modulation. In this sentence, there is the word korasu, which means chorus. If translated literally, the sentence becomes unacceptable because it will become saya akan mengulang lagu selama hidup saya. Therefore, the translator used modulation technique to make the sentence easier to understand and acceptable in target language. Next is modulation also, but it is in the scope of meaning. There's the word sensei, which means teacher, but in these works translated as ibu ahli kecantikan or Mrs. Beautician. So in this word, there is a modulation technique to scope the scope of meaning from broad to narrow. And next is descriptive translation. The word mugaku doesn't have a direct equivalent in TL, but the meaning of the word is illiterate due to not attending school or uneducated. In order for the message of the sentence to be conveyed, the translator used a description translation technique so that the word mugaku is translated as tidak mengenal sekolah. Next is contextual conditioning. In this sentence, there is the word hinageshi, which is also found in the title. Hinageshi is a white plant that is cultivated with the scientific name Papaver grass, or better known as common poppy. The translator uses contextual conditioning technique because there is no direct equivalent in Indonesian, so it is necessary to add an explanation related to the word hinageshi. So it becomes bunga hinageshi. The use of this technique is also strategy to maintain the uniqueness of source language in target language. Next is official or standard translation. In this sentence, there is the word Beethoven, or in Japanese, it reads Beethoven, which is the name of a famous composer and pianist. Therefore, the translator used a standard translation. Next is not given an equivalent. This sentence contains the word go biru, or the meaning is 5 bilu. The word bilu in this sentence is difficult to translate because it doesn't exist in dictionary and is difficult to find on the internet. In addition, the writing that uses katakana letters further hinders the translator from finding the right equivalent. The next one is cultural equivalent. In this sentence, there is the word funa, which translated as tawus fish. The translator used a cultural equivalent technique because in target language, there is fish which is similar to funa. The equivalent given by the translator is not quite right because funa is a Persian carp, which in target language is known as ikan mas, while tawus fish is Java barb. However, considering that ikan mas can also be interpreted as aquarium fish, the translator makes tawus fish as the equivalent of the word tuna so that it is not ambiguous. Conclusion, the translation technique used by the translator in translating Hinoki to Hinagashi short stories, which are translated in Indonesian as Pohon Hinoki dan Bunga Hinagashi, are transposition, modulation in the form of shifted meaning and narrowing of meaning, descriptive translation, contextual conditioning, official or standard translation, not given any equivalent, and cultural equivalence. So I think I have now come to the end of my presentation. Thank you for the attention. Sorry, sir, you're not audible.
Yeah, thank you very much for your interesting presentation. And then we are now at 14 and 5. You have already spent 15 minutes to present your paper. So we have no answering and questioning session for Mbak Dewi Kusmiati. Okay, I would like to go on with the next presenter. The next presenter is Mr. Muhammad Muzaka.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Mbak Devi ya, you are representing Mbak Muzaka. The article is a lyric for the song Virus Corona by Roma Irama Stylistic Studies.
Yes, I would like to share the PPT first.
Okay, you may continue.
Okay, thank you. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I would like to present this paper under title Lyrics of the Song Virus Corona by Roma Irama Stylistic Studies. This paper contains research method, introduction, result and discussion, conclusion, and reference. A very important aspect of literary research in language development is stylistic research. This is because the language style in literary, in addition to influencing the language style of the readers, can also be used as a measure of change and development of the author's aesthetic insight. Turner argues that stylistic is a part of linguistics which focuses its attention on variations in the use of language in literary. One type of literary is song lyrics because in essence, the song lyrics are sung poetry. Song lyrics as poetry have the same popularity as songs sung by singers. So, that song lyrics have a wider reach and acceptance in society than other poems. One of the legendary Indonesian singers who is still productive working on creating songs and singing is Roma Irama. Throughout his musical career with Soneta Group, which was founded in 1970, he has created many song titles with various themes, namely love, humanity, and religion. In the film repertoire, he has made an act in his own films as the lead role in more than 20 film titles. So, studies of the song lyrics by Roma Irama have been carried out by many literary researchers. Some of these studies have been carried out by Muzaka in an article entitled Social Criticism in the Song Lyrics Indonesia by Roma Irama. One of the most popular song lyrics is a song composed and sung by Roma Irama when the global COVID-19 pandemic spreads to Indonesia, namely virus corona, which was released in the form of a song in March 2020. This song is a special song that he made for reflection because it was not released on a special album. However, the song is more of an expression of the author on the problem of the global pandemic. Although Muzaka reviewed the lyrics of the song in 2020, he did not review the lyrics of the song in the stylistic aspect. The language style research, according to Pradopo, can be done in prose and poetry because language style is the use of language, especially to get certain effects. What is researched is the form of language and what effects are caused by its use. The form of language in literature seems from the aspect of language that build a literary. It is through this aspect of language that the sound style and word style and sentence style and overall style of expression appear in literary, which is commonly referred to as the discourse style. Starting from Pradopo, the writer will analyze the lyrics of Roma Irama's song Virus Corona in terms of language style. The research method, the object of this research is lyrics for the song Virus Corona 2020 by Roma Irama. The song lyrics were chosen as the object of research because the song really marks the global COVID-19 outbreak or pandemic. Because the formal object is the study of language styles, the perspective of the study is based on the stylistic approach, which is an interdisciplinary linguistic approach that focuses on literary studies. This research is included in library research because in revealing the language style of the selected song lyrics, the researcher only focuses on the study of the song lyrics. The method of data collection is done by observing and taking notes. After the data has been collected in a number of categories, the data is then analyzed carefully using a stylistic approach, namely how sound elements, word elements, phrase elements, and sentence elements build discourse lyrics of the song Virus Corona. In addition to the style of language in this unit, the relationship between the elements in building the language style of the song lyric is also studied. Related to this, the author tries to apply the stylistic work steps initiated by Pradopo. By considering the appropriateness of writing scientific articles and clarifying the analysis of the song lyric Virus Corona, the writer will divide the element forming language style based on Pradopo's opinion into three parts, namely sound style, word style, and sentence style and discourse. Sound style. If we look at the lyrics of the song Virus Corona, it is full of sound elements in the form of alliteration, assonance, and rhyme. The three of them are very closely related in building the orchestration of the sound, so that the lyrics of the song, when we read alone, are very melodious, especially when sung, causing the song to become more melodious. This is illustrated by the first couplet consisting of 6 lines, followed by the second couplet consisting of 4 lines. This can be seen also in the fourth and fifth couplet of the lyrics of the song after being separated by third couplet. If seen from the ending rhyme, all the couplets of the song's lyric rhymes are, even though each couplet has a different number of lines. This is not a coincidence factor, but was created by the author to create poetic value, especially to create melodious sounds. In addition to using the same ending rhyme, the song lyrics are also constructed by the dominant elements of assonance and alliteration to express the soul of the authors. Next, word style. The style of words that will be discussed in this paper includes various things as described by Pradopo, namely the style of the word from morphology, the meaning of the word semantics, and the origin of the word etymology. With these three stylistic elements, the lyrics of Roma Irama's Virus Corona will be studied in depth. From the style of the word form, the diction contained in the lyrics of the song Virus Corona varies widely. This can be seen in the use of basic words and complex words. Reduplication words does not appear in the lyrics of this song. As for the use of word groups, both in the form of phrase and compound words is less dominant. In terms of the meaning of the word, the lyric of the song lyric Virus Corona, because they are filled with daily vocabulary, generally have a very straightforward meaning, which is easy to understand when the audience reads or listens to them. Even though using everyday vocabulary does not mean these lyrics are not ethical, however, behind the straightforward meaning, besides being able to build a beautiful and expressive sound style, this choice of word is excellent for constructing rhetorical poetry that aims to convey a strong moral message. In terms of etymology, almost all of the selected vocabulary comes from Indonesian. Although foreign language absorption words, Arabic and English, are also used which have been standard in Indonesian. For example, critters, isolation, virus, and microbes. There is a foreign vocabulary from Arabic which is used in the song lyrics, namely inayah, which means help. Although the word inayah still appears to be Arabic, it is commonly used in everyday language usage such as the vocabulary of hidayah, tawadu, and so on. So even though the author has the freedom to choose words, the author in these lyrics does not choose the full Indonesian vocabulary.
Mbak Devi, sorry for interrupting. You still have 4 minutes left.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, and the last, sentence and discourse style. According to Pradopo, sentence style in literary works includes two main things, namely the style of sentence form and rhetorical device. The style of the sentence is formed by the style of the words. Therefore, the style of the words really determines the style of the sentence that is formed, both the style of the sentence and the rhetorical device. Furthermore, the sentence style form as higher style unit to express the expression of the author's soul in particular, namely the discourse style that is built into the literary works he writes. So, if we look at the lines of Roma Irama's song Virus Corona, which from the couplets of the poem, they are complex sentences that can be paraphrased into paragraph. This is because each line of the lyrics for the song Virus Corona is closely related to the lines underneath which from the couplet. This gripping horror has hit humans when the creator coronavirus comes to attack and causes many deaths. The virus was very small, invisible to the eye, and could not be touched. However, that creature was terrifying to all humans because humans are scared almost all over the country. They close themselves by isolating themselves and hiding. Okay. When examined in terms of the rhetorical means used, the lyrics for the song Coronavirus use a variety of figures of speech. However, what dominantly made song lyrics as a whole pleonasm, metaphor, and litotes. Pleonasm is widely used to describe situations that are not normal or extraordinary events, so that the authors use many words that have the same basic meaning with different connotation. In other words, words that have the same basic meaning are used to emphasize the event that is described. And metaphorical language is a direct comparison of two different things. And the litotes in song lyrics to make a sublime or special atmosphere in the midst of the very frightening atmosphere of the COVID-19 pandemic. The straightforward sentence style with the rhetorical means of pleonasm, metaphora, and litotes is used to build a whole discourse, namely how to respond to the global pandemic caused by the coronavirus. From the beginning to the end.
I'm so sorry to inform you that the time is over. Okay. I think you have to stop your presentation now, and then we are going to continue this presentation by giving the time to Dr. Sam Tui. Okay, Dr. Sam Tui, he is going to present Nanaku, local wisdom of the coastal fishermen community in Tanibal, Seram. Dr. Sam Tui, the times and
thank you.
Yours.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Sam Tui, and then I will represent with Dr. Sam Tui.
Oh, I see. Okay. You may go on, Pak Alam.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Bapak Oktiva Heri Chandra. And then Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, the participant. In this time, I and Dr. Sam Tower will present our article. I am second author and Dr. Sam Tower the first author. Before I introduce Mr. Dr. Sam Tower, please show your video, Mr. Dr. Sam Tower.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amsyah.
Dr. Sam Tower, he is from Department he is from Department History Education, Patimura University. Okay, and then I will present about Nanaku, local knowledge of the coastal fishermen community in Tanibal, Seram. Local knowledge system is a natural phenomena that is seen, felt, experienced, or law formulated according to the pattern and way of thinking of a community. Local knowledge system is one of the cultural elements that is universal.
It seems that Mr. Alamsyah has problem with the connection.
Still muted, Pak Heri.
Oh yeah, Pak Alam, you are muted now. Please turn on your speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
This knowledge is from knowledge from the adaptation of the Tamil coastal fishing community to the natural environment. This knowledge is traditional inherited from generation to generation, from the older generation to younger generation. Therefore, Nanaku is seen as a form of local wisdom regarding traditional knowledge related to fishing activities that support increased chases that is very useful for fishermen on Taniwel district coast. I think this article used this descriptive qualitative research method. Yeah, through this method, various cultural phenomena will be described in the form.
Jumat ora lo nak Jumat deh lo.
Excuse me, Pak Mualimin, I think your mic is unmuted.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Pak Alam, please unmute your speaker.
Sometimes my connected is bad. Sorry.
Yeah. Never mind.
Okay, natural matter by fishermen grow, develop, transform, and are maintained through non-formal education from generation to generation. Natural science that one can be in the form of animal, plant, sky object, weather, and others. And then there are 12 Nanaku. The first Nanaku moon, second Nanaku Karti star, Nanaku Beluku star, Nanaku sky clouds, Nanaku high and low tide, Nanaku windstorm or tornado, Nanaku ocean current, Nanaku when river water overflow or floods and looks very moody, Nanaku seagull frogs flying in the ocean, Nanaku owl, Nanaku lunar eclipse, Nanaku lightning in northeast at night. Nanaku moon, yeah, through the knowledge when the moon is full or the moon is bright, as a sign that fishermen will have difficulty getting fish. Conversely, if the night is dark and there is no there will be a lot of fish and swimming the light that brought of the fishermen to the sea. And then Nanaku Karti star, knowledge of Karti star characteristic is that it is marked with many stars gathering is one point and look like it has a long tail. The peak of the Karti star usually appear in the sky at the end of July. And then when Karti star appear in the sky, it is a sign that coffee season is coming. And then Beluku, Nanaku, Beluku star. Knowledge of Beluku star characteristic in the presence of star that line up to form a line similar to letter. Beluku star usually appear in August. If Beluku star appear, then fishermen will believe and it will be a sign of the big fish appearance, especially whales, shark, and many dolphins. The fourth, Nanaku sky cloud. This knowledge is characterized by a day when the sky has thick white cloud and it resembles fish scales at night. This condition is a sign of various kinds of fish are looking for food. So that is the time when fishermen will get a lot of caught. When the thick cloud the resemble fish scales are in the sky, the temperature is getting warmer in the sea, water is also getting warmer, so that many plankton appear. And then the fifth, Nanaku high and low tide. The fishermen really understand the phenomena of high and low tide. At low tide, they take advantage of time going down the sea to catch fish because many fish are hunting for plankton. When the tide is high, sometimes fishermen have difficulty catching fish because the fish that hunt for plankton is small. Nanaku, windstorm, tornado. When the cloud is black and look like a banana head and extend vertically, it is a sign that a tornado is coming. In this condition, the fishermen, fishermen immediately spur the boat to avoid being hit by tornado that cloud and near them. And then Nanaku ocean current. If the ocean current are too clear and the water is too cold, this is a sign that there are no fish in that area. Seawater is said to be clear if up to a depth of 6 to 7 meters, the object or bait used by fishermen are still seen. Likewise, if the seawater feels hot for our hand, it is a sign that fish in that area are hard to find. And then Nanaku, when river water overflow or floods and looks very muddy. If the condition occur, it is sign that there are no fish in that area. Maybe there are small amount of fish, but because the river flooded, a lot of plankton was involved and it became fast food. At this period of time, when fishermen go to sea, they will get difficulties in catching fish. Nanaku seagull flock flying in the ocean. This condition is sign that there are a lot of tuna and kinds of strangely in that place. The sign is the same when there are many long-tailed sepia flying over the sea, which indicated that the season is changed. But from the rainy season to the dry season and vice versa. This condition also indicates that there are many fish in the sea, so it is very good for fishermen to go to sea. Nanaku owl. The sign is usually when an owl screaming and dawn or at night. When they hear the owl scream, fishermen on Taniwal Coast and especially in Kasih village will immediately go to sea because it is confirmed that there are a lot of fish. And then 11, Nanaku lunar eclipse. With the sign, fishermen during the Makarau moon, lunar eclipse, usually get water in a large container like a bucket. After the macaroni moon is completed, all fishing equipment such as net and other tools are water using the water from the container. From the habits they usually do, it turns out they get big amount of fish when they go to sea. And the last 12, Nanaku lightning in northeast at night. This is a sign that if there repeat lightning in the northeastern part of the north, the toothless are coming to land to lay their eggs on the beach sand. It is the time that people living around the coast begin rushing to go get turtle eggs after the mother returned to the sea. value transformation in the local knowledge context of coastal Taniwal community. Transformation is an effort to preserve local culture so that it can survive and enjoyed by the next generation. This transformation also involves the network of social and ecological relationship. Along with value transformation process given from the preceding generation to the younger generation, of course, the knowledge gain will be put into practice. The transformation of fishermen's local knowledge in the form of Nanaku on Taniwal Coast is also carried out. This knowledge is growing hereditary as a result of interaction between fishermen and nature in their interaction. People gain experience and knowledge about what humans expect from their environment. This knowledge can be obtained naturally and as a result of the action and challenges experienced by the fishermen. Therefore, the Taniwal coastal fishermen's understanding of Nanaku as natural phenomena, the accumulated in mind, is passed down orally and usually cannot be explained through scientific terms. This local knowledge system deals with very broad aspect of people life, including the universe, cosmology, flora, fauna, object, activities, as well as events that have been occurred. The local knowledge system is also related to the natural, social, and cultural environment in which this community group live and carry out their main activities in order to survive. The conclusion, Nanaku local knowledge is form of local wisdom regarding traditional knowledge owned by Taniwal coastal fishermen. Taniwal is a district in Serang. This knowledge is as a natural marker before the fishermen carry out fishing activities. Through Nanaku, fishermen have the potential to get an increase in their catch. This Nanaku is trusted by fishermen because it can be guide that is trusted by the community in fishing activities. Through Nanaku, fish catches will be abundant. Until now, local knowledge is still owned and transformed from generation to generation based on direct experience. During its development, Nanaku local knowledge is also transformed among fishermen's families so that it is easily understood by children so that they become supporter of the cultural result. I think my presentation is finished. Thank you, Bapak Oktiva Heri Chandra. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Pak Alamsa. You have already spent about 50 minutes, and then so we have no time for questioning and answering, and then we are going to go on with the other presenter. I would like to give the time for Pramudia Lazwardi. He's going to present the article Sustainability of Wonosobo Coffee Agriculture and Industry from Community-Based Conservation Perspective. Mas Pramudia, times and screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Pak Oktiva, for the opportunities. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pramudia Lazwardi. I am an undergraduate student of English Department, Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University. And in this very special occasion, I would like to present my article written entitled Sustainability of Wonosobo's Coffee Agriculture and Industry from Community-Based Conservation Perspective. This might be a unique article because as an English literature student, I was expected to write related to fiction, but I think I will present to you a more sociological aspect. This is the table of contents that I present. There is introduction, literature review, methodology of the study, findings, and conclusion of the study. Community and environment are intricately interwoven and cannot be overlooked. people often rely on nature to survive, and furthermore, their influence is essential to the world's sustaining existence today. And this is a unique life cycle that occurs in Wonosobo's agricultural and coffee industry. For the first, I chose Wonosobo Regency as my object of the research. As for the high potential of coffee agriculture industry, starting from 1998 until today's, it is located in Central Java. Okay, for the literature review, maybe in general, you might know that conservation is often labeled with such as biodiversity, animal and plant preservation, but conservation is more a practice aimed at protecting living natural resources and preventing extinction, harm, or degradation. It refers to the managing and protection and also restoring the natural resources and the ecosystem. Therefore, in this case, conservation is more like the activity, not inside an environment, not only for protecting, but it's managing.
Mentoring.
Yes. So time by time, humans already developed conservation awareness from the prehistoric times. However, it is in a traditional manner. Therefore, one way is through switching, hunting and gathering lifestyle to farming and cattle raising. Therefore, no more food foraging, but they preserve their own food resources. It is more sustainable, and in fact, this is practiced in the prehistoric era. But it is employed and developed into a new concept called community-based conservation. That is a conservation concept that employs community outreach as the major actor in integrated conservation and sustainability activities to accomplish both social economy and conservation objectives. The subject of the study is about the fundamental socio-cultural, economic, and ecological values of the agricultural coffee industry influencing the CBC, or community-based conservation, growth, and development. Also, the objective of the CBC, the role of each community element involved, and the environmental, agricultural, and coffee industry outcomes in Wonosobo. For the methodology of the study, I conduct the interviews with key enforcement, and then I conducted field observations, and then from the data collected, I did literature study and objective analysis to reach a conclusion that is qualitative research. For the findings, the author or me employs the following map as a conceptual framework when undertaking the research. And this in this concept, there are three main sections: the values, the institutions and institutional processes, and the outcomes after or for the institution and institutional processes. In this concept, the main actor is the institutions and institutional processes. So they are the key concept of the community-based conservation, not only the environment, not only the everything that inside an ecosystem, but the actors, which is the institution themselves. For the first, there are three main values that I found in Wonosobo's coffee agriculture and industry. The first of all is the socio-cultural values. Wonosobo, the people of Wonosobo sees coffee not only as a drink, not as a habitual activity that they do in the morning or in the night, but they also see coffee as a medium to socially connect with other people. They regard the coffee as a cultural value in and of itself. For example, if they want to meet someone either for a purpose or just social interaction, they always use the phrase "yuk ngopi," or in English is "do you want to have a coffee?" They never, or maybe almost never, say that "yuk nongkrong" or "yuk ngeteh." They always use the phrase "yuk ngopi." So there is a emphasis inside of the coffee as a socio-cultural medium. For the economic value, Wonosobo's high coffee consumption is also a manifestation of the rising economic importance of the coffee. According to one senior farmer from Kapanchar village, the price of coffee beans was just around 1,500 to 3,000 rupiah per kilogram between 1998 and 2050. But nowadays, coffee beans can cost up to 10,000 rupiah per kilogram, depending on the farmer and the distributor. So there is a rising of the economic value, which help them to improve their health, their welfare, or maybe even education. In an ecological term, in 1998, coffee plantation in Wonosobo was meant to prevent erosion. So it's not for it's not for economic, but the main reason that they start planting coffee is to prevent erosion. But since recognizing the advantages of coffee plants in terms of erosion reduction, the farmers learned about environmental techniques for improving the production of coffee plants and even the beans. From this value, there are several institutions and institutional process that conducted. The fourth institution is the stakeholders as a founder, policy and strategy maker, and also a counselor, the farmer and the farmer groups, of course, as the main actor or the implementer, and also serve as the policy advisor, the people and the community group inside or around Wonosobo as the supporting role directly or indirectly, and also the processor of the coffee and the distributor of the fine coffee as the coffee bean processors and marketer of the product. First, the stakeholder help by funding coffee farmers and processor, as previously stated. The provincial government of Central Java provided farmers in Kapanjar village, especially with assistance by seeds in 1998. And then, in the same time, around 2019 and 20, the same assistance was provided to the villages farmer groups.
Sorry for interrupting. You still have 5 minutes to go.
Okay, thank you, sir. From 1980 to 2015, they relied on conventional planting. Therefore, after the counseling by the stakeholders, they started to improve the coffee farmers' capacity and ability. So they have more knowledge to how to plant and process the coffee. Subsequently, the government also empowered an authority to develop assesses and execute regional development plans, and also for the last cooperated to facilitate discussion and decision making on regional regulation policies. For the people, back then Wonosobo people were forced to do pagar coffees, or Indonesia is kopi pagar, or it is a naming for cultural status scheme that they forced to presence of coffee due to a long-standing coffee tradition. As a result, the coffee values in Wonosobo start to emerge and grow. Basically, from the first and starting on the 2000, after Wonosobo became environmental degradation, and with the help of the Wonosobo district government, they previously mentioned the strategy of decentralization of forest management. At the time, the several of the community and the community group discuss and collaborate ultimately to culminate a strategy known as community-based forest resource management, or PSDHBM, that the concept was agreed by open the majority of those involved. And also the farmer, as they are essential for the planting from a conventional or traditional way to a more eco-friendly way, so that they can sustain the coffee plantation and also make the quality of the coffee product better and better. For the processor and the distributor, they help to facilitate farmers that cannot produce or process their own beans into a fine and high quality bean. And also they often find farmers or farmer groups to facilitate more education about how to create an eco-friendly and more better product by giving them education and instruction. Due to the following demand of the coffee for the consumer. And for the outcomes, Yes, excuse me.
2 minutes.
Oh yes, thank you. So for the established, they wanted to increase and to what is called to increase the potential value that inside of the coffee and the coffee bean and the from the plantation into the industrial and economically they wanted to change their welfare. As people's welfare increases, the quality of living and spending capacity will also grow, and this in this case CBC practice will also be more substantially realized by improving environmental consciousness. The degree of environmental damage purposely done for human benefit will decrease. In conclusion, this value potential, when combined with the CBC practice used as a framework, achieving sustainability, also stakeholders including policymakers, government, and also other party collaborate to accomplish and feel desired of the outcomes. They aim to utilize synergy between nature and industry to increase their life and their environmental quality. As a part of an ecosystem, CBC help ensure that the community will flourish while simultaneously maintaining, sustaining, and using the environment. If this carried out in the future, it will establish a level of a sustainability that will enable it to flourish, and even in a pandemic situation as occurred while I am conducting the research. Thank you so much for your attention. If there are any question or argumentative, I would like to be open. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation, Mas Pramudiala Zuardi. But because you have already spent about 15 minutes, okay, so there will be no questioning and answering session. And then we still have one presenter, yeah. I already called her before, yeah. Actually, she is the second presenter, but because she hasn't come yet, and then I would like to keep her, Mbak Roisa, to present your article entitled The Role of TB Association in Detecting Tuberculosis Suspect in Probolinggo Regency Java. Mbak Rosia, the time is yours. You only have 15 minutes, 10 minutes for presenting, and then 5 minutes to discuss. Please unmute your speaker, Mbak Roisa.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry because I'm late. I entered the wrong room, so I'm sorry. I would like to present my research, the role of the tuberculosis or TB community in detecting TB suspects in Probolinggo Regency is Java. This is my research background. Tuberculosis is one of the public health problem, and new infections emerge every year. And Indonesia is in the third rank of countries with the highest tuberculosis globally, with TB case detection still below 70%. In this case, the strategy in the TB control program to increase TB case detection in Probolinggo Regency is community partnership through the TB community. The TB community can participate in changing hygiene and healthy living habits, reducing stigma in the community, forming people who care about tuberculosis treatment, and ensuring that people at risk of TB get tested. Besides, this TB community doesn't have standardization from the government, so that each region forms a TB community is needed. The role of this TB community, among others, is to search for TB suspects using the movement 1 per 20. And it means that every time one TB case is found, and an investigation of at least 20 people around it is carried out. Also, counseling is carried out to TB risk communities. Meanwhile, TB case finding among TB suspects and history of contact with TB sufferers require intensive research. However, the role of this community in detecting TB suspects has never been reported. Therefore, this study aimed to determine the role of the TB community in detecting TB suspects in the Probolinggo Regency. And then method. This research used descriptive qualitative, and the population was all TB community members in the 5 TB community area of Probolinggo and Regency, totaling 130 people. The sampling was a purposive sampling method with the researchers' consideration until it met the data saturation, and it has 29 participants. The data were collected using interview to the informants, which were then analyzed with thematic content. For data validation, data triangulation was conducted by one head of infectious disease, the Probolinggo Regency Health Office, and 5 people from each TB community at Puskesmas TB program holders responsible for implementing activities. And this is the result of this study. Probolinggo has 5 TB community, and each community has or consists of 26 members, and their role is to detect suspect of TB, included case finding through contact investigations, counseling, and conducting examination for those who have cough for more than 2 weeks. From the interviews with 29 TB community members in conducting contact checks, it was found that 23 people, or 79%, could not invite TB suspects to undergo examination, and 25 people, or it's about 89%, had conducted counseling but were still unable to explain and convince the community the importance of medical examinations for TB suspects. This is the figure that explain the achievements of TB case discovered by TB communities in Probolinggo Regency from 2017 until 2020. It is shown that the achievement is far from the expected target. And the discussion, the first theme, we found that the role based on the research results on the role of the TB community in detecting TB suspects. It was found that in conducting contact investigation, 23 people, or 79%, had not been able to invite TB suspects to carry out medical examinations. It was probably due to the lack of TB community members' skills in getting TB suspects to the checks up. Meanwhile, 6 people, it's about 20.6%, had conducted a contact investigation, and TB suspects were willing to do sputum checks of TB community in detecting TB suspects. TB case finding is complex and requires resources that require training in Makassar, Indonesia. The role of the community by involving Asia cadres who cared about TB was still lacking in early detection of TB suspects. The ability to advocate, the ability to mobilize, and the ability to eliminate the stigma of TB sufferers. And then this is the second theme of this research, the role of TB community in providing counseling. In the role of the TB community in providing counseling for those who cough for more than 2 weeks, it was found that about 86% had conducted counseling but were unable to explain and convince the public of the importance of examining TB suspects. It was because TB is still a stigma, which is a shame if suffering from TB disease. It is consistent with research from the TB patient's life experience that the delay in identifying TB cases is due to the presence of stigma. Other challenges in finding suspects include a lack of training, the presence of stigma, a lack of public awareness about TB, and the inability to convince to carry out a sputum test. Various community-led organizations in TB case finding are effective and need to be implemented. Previous research has stated that partnership with the community could improve access to health services in the prevention of tuberculosis. So for this reason, the role of community social workers in health can increase the national target for TB case detection by mobilizing the community in health services. The TB community is a social worker is expected to help increase TB case detection. One of its activities is to conduct home visit is expected to help increase TB case detection. One of its activities is to conduct home visits to search for TB suspects, to search for TB suspects. However, the inability of community members to explain and convince the community suspected of TB possibly was due to a lack of knowledge and skills in giving easy to understand TB information to the community. This knowledge and skills can actually be obtained from the activities of each TB community meeting with good activity planning at each meeting. Currently, there is no planning and evaluation of TB community activities. And the third theme is the role of TB community members in TB community meeting activities. Based on the research results, the role of the TB community in community meeting activities was only carried out twice a year. The meeting activities included socialization about TB, where the participation of community members in the meeting was still less active and still waiting to be coordinated by the TB program holders. In addition,
sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
You still have 3 minutes to go.
Okay, thank you. In addition of the activities were only socialization about TB, there was no scheduled planning and there was no active discussion at every meeting between community members. Slide, okay. Leadership in the community organization also needs evaluation and training to support learning. For this reason, the existence of this TB community is expected to increase the detection of TB cases in the Probolinggo Regency, but the detection of TB cases is still below the national target. Namely, it's about 65%. It was probably due to this not yet optimal role of the TB community in the Probolinggo Regency and the lack of public awareness of the importance of health checks for TB suspects. After knowing the role of the TB community, it is expected that the next researcher can determine the proper empowerment for the TB community in detecting TB suspects. And the conclusion of this research, the role of the TB community in detecting TB suspects hasn't been optimal because Not all TB community members played a role in investigating contacts and counseling for TB suspects. Also, the participation of members was less active in TB community meeting activities. Okay, thanks. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibu
the
Rosia.
attention.
Yeah, very interesting presentation. And then we have new knowledge about these kinds of disease, and then how can we, at least how can we prevent us for this kinds of disease. Okay, but we still have 1 minute to go, and then if there is questions coming from the other participants, I will be very pleased to hear that. Is there any questions to the topic given by Ibu Roisa? Yes. Okay, if there are questions, it means that we have to end this session. We have to end this seminar this afternoon. Thank you very much, and then we are very lucky because we have very different topics. Yeah, the first coming from pragmatic, the second one coming from translations, and then it's also we also discuss about the culture, yeah, and then stylistic, and then the last is we just listen to the explanation given by Bu Rosia about the role of TB association in detecting tuberculosis. Okay, thank you very much. I do really hope that the discussion that we have this afternoon will give incitement for us, and then we can do something. Yeah, we can take something. We can take benefit from our discussion this afternoon. Thank you very much. And then I remind you that tomorrow we are going to still have one meeting again. We have parallel session again, and then I do really hope that all of you will be participating in taking part to the discussion. Okay, thank you very much. And then I would like to say good afternoon, all of you. But before you are leaving this, I hope that you have make sure that, yeah, you have made sure that you have make the what we call it as the presentations, yeah. You have to, and then before leaving, I want the host, yeah, would you please to take the picture, all of us?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Please turn on your video.
Okay. One, two, three. One more time. One, two, three. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Pak Malimin. Thank you, Pak Alamsyah, Mas Pramudia.
Thank you,
Pak
sir.
Dewi.
Thank you, ladies and
Ibu
gentlemen.
Roisa, thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
you.
Thank you, Pak Heri.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Terima
you,
kasih.
thank you. Good
Assalamualaikum.
afternoon. Sampai
Yo,
ketemu
Pak
lagi.
Alam,
Waalaikumsalam.
Good
Bu
afternoon.
Roslina,
Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum.
Mita, Pram, thank you.
Iya, Pak. Terima kasih juga.
Tetap jaga kesehatan ya.
Ya.
Jaga stamina. Oke, selamat sore. I'm leaving now.
Sore.
Thank you,
So
Pak.
am I.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
I'm leaving.